Confusion is a luxury which only the very, very young can afford. And the truth of the matter is, you're probably not that young anymore. Hello and welcome to the Growth Mindset podcast. Today we're talking about indecision and confusion and how to get over it. The biggest thing here to know is that so often we are choosing to be confused. And yes, you heard me correctly, we are actively choosing to be confused. We'll have a difficult action to take, and in our heart, we know what the action is, but we say that we have a confusing situation because we don't want to take the action, and it's not that we don't actually know how to deal with the problem that faces us. We're deliberately not addressing the fact that we're being weak, and we are fooling ourselves into thinking that we are being confused. There is a logical answer to our situation, and we're just faffing around hoping something will come and save us from the problems that we don't want to solve for ourselves. There's a lovely saying that the most confused you will ever get is when you try to convince your heart and spirit of something that your mind knows is a lie. This is a great quote for love and things, but also often it's just that you have to go and do some work or do something slightly difficult, or just make a bad choice, but just get it done and do something. And in the area of choosing to not be confused, I think it's very important to remember that you can't please everyone, and if you try to, you'll end up pleasing no one. So, when we find ourselves stuck, we can reframe the situation to give ourselves awareness by completing these two sentences. Number one, the unfortunate truth about the situation is ABC. And then number two, therefore, the right action that I must take is XYZ. It nearly always works, and I feel kind of stupid that I have wasted time not deciding when I do this. And as developers, there's a thing called the rubber duck problem, where we can waste hours not coming to a solution, feeling like we're making a mess. And if we just talk to someone, we'll usually find ourselves going oh, well, I've done this and it's causing all these problems. So what I have to do is just go and do this thing instead. And to save ourselves from wasting other people's time, we just get a rubber duck and we say these things to the rubber duck, and then we just do it instead of asking people for help. And this is the equivalent of that, basically. There's a famous example called the donkey that I heard about from Derek Sivers, but I think it's older than that, where there's this donkey in a stable who is very thirsty and hungry, and he's stood in the middle of the stable. To his left is lots of hay that he can eat, but it's very dry and would make him thirstier. And to his right is lots of water, which is obviously water and would solve his thirst, but he's very hungry, so he doesn't want to go and drink water straight away. And he's just stuck in between his two decisions, and he can't do it. He's turning left, he's turning right. He's like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. I'm so thirsty. And eventually, after 12 hours, he collapses and dies. And the point is, don't be a donkey. Just work out what to do first, even if it's not the perfect solution, and then carry on with your day. Another example is, in the olden days, someone who owns a home, whether they should repair their roof or replace it, and repairing the roof solves it for now. Replacing it would be a significant expense. Both are kind of scary, and you're like, oh, put off the decision. And then you get lots of rain and you just get super wet in a crap house, etc. So many examples that I'm sure you have lots that you can relate to. There's ones in relationships, business, you're trying to increase productivity or something, and maybe you should fire some staff or invest in new tech. Just all these difficult things that come up, but that if we just write down what the situation is and what we have to do, it becomes obvious, and yet we just find ourselves feeling confused and not wanting to take ownership of the decisions we have to make. For example, for me, terrible at booking travel, and my girlfriend also. We'll know what we need to do and put it off being maybe I'll have some more insights tomorrow, and usually I just have to talk to a friend that I'm going to visit or something and just actually make a decision. And just the next action I just put off, it just makes things more expensive and more difficult. Looking at bigger examples, there's the Challenger disaster in 1986, where the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded after liftoff, killing all 7 crew members on board, and that was caused by a failure of the O-ring seal. And that was designed to prevent hot gases from escaping the rocket boosters. But the engineers at NASA had expressed concerns about the safety of the O-ring before the launch. The launch was approved anyway, and the people managing it decided not to postpone the launch, which was not so much a decision to do it, it was more just a lack of decision to stop it and do what they really needed to think they should do. There was a known risk, lives and millions of pounds were at stake, but it was already in process. And so the lack of decision to like change the process just meant that like the decision was made for them, which then killed lots of people. So this is why health and safety exists and sort of is there to try and make these decisions for you and stop you from doing stupid stuff. But it makes the point that actually often not making a difficult decision leads us to an even worse thing than like doing a slightly annoying thing in the process. So anyway, in case you'd forgotten, the tool here is 1, saying that the unfortunate truth about the situation is ABC, and 2, saying that therefore the right action that I must now take is XYZ. And then you can just clear your thoughts and accept the current state of things and just start working. Neil Gaiman said that we often confuse what we wish for with what is, and there's no point wasting our time wishing for things that aren't happening, and we do need to just deal with what is. And once you accept the current situation, you can kind of get on with life and just start sleeping soundly instead of letting it annoy you. On that, I would like to introduce today's sponsor, Hostinger. If you're confused about where to go when starting a website, blog, online shop, don't be. It's the simplest solution for all those things. Starts at only $2.99 a month. And if you use the promo code GROWTH, you'll get 10% off extra free. So go to hostinger.com/growth for 10% off. And that's the podcast. Short and sharp, thank you for listening.